So repechage number 1 of the club women's double scullers on the course. You can see the 500-metre splits up at the moment. In lane 1, Charlotte Morris and Madeline Butler from Brisbane and GPS. Katie Tagg and Sandra Sweeney from Canberra in lane 2. In lane 3, Amelia Chapman and Jordan Turner from Brisbane and GPS. Commercials Claire Saggers and Isabel Townsend in lane 4. Kate Morris and Alexandria Morgan McDonald from Brisbane and GPS in lane 5. In lane 6, Hannah Sexton and Carrie Jones from LOS and CRC. In lane 6, Lily Cooper and Maya Brooking from Sydney Uni in lane 7. And Lee Ming, Megan Chen and Ella Adriana Benanamini from ANU in lane 8.
And it is the crew out of lane number 6, Loretto Old Scholars and Community Rowing Club. Hannah Sexton and Karis Jones, coached by the big Dutchman Tom Dornbos, that lead this one. They threw 154 in the first 500, and they led from a couple of Brisbane and GPS crews, Morris and Morgan McDonald and Champion and Turner, and then back to Sydney University with Cooper and Brooking on 2 out from this side of the course. So we get a bit of a look at the Lawson CRC combination that leads this race from Brisbane and GPS. You can see on their port side or stroke side. And then Commercial Rowing Club Saggers and Townsend also having a good race with Champion and Turner of Brisbane and GPS, and Canberra Rowing Club sneaking up there. Katie Tagg and Sandra Sweeney, coached by Mark Kwiatkowski and Alison Chen, who do an absolutely huge amount of work down there at Canberra Rowing Club and with Rowing ACT. And their crew trying to feature in the top 4 spots here. So through the halfway mark, Sexton and Jones that lead, and they lead by the best part of a couple of boat lengths over Brisbane and GPS, with the crew of Morris and Morgan McDonald. And then back to Commercial, Saggers and Townsend, then followed by the other Brisbane and GPS crew, Champion and Turner, and Tagg and Sweeney of Canberra are there in 5th position. So 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 is how the lanes are proceeding down in reverse numerical order. Then followed by Sydney University being pushed back from 4th to 6th. ANU remaining 7th on this side of the course, and on the far side of the course, the Brisbane and GPS crew of Morris and Butler, with a bit of work to do to grab a top 4 spot in this one.
And Owen, Alexandria Morgan McDonald, she really tested herself yesterday in the Open Women's Single Sculls. She finished in 8th place, so in the club women's double scull this afternoon, that one would have been a really good experience for her. She's from that Brisbane and GPS club.
Yes, no Jen Horton in this one, so certainly going to be a much easier one for her, and suggest that was just good to get a good race under her belt in the Open Women's Single Scull. So it's still Loretto Old Scholars and Community Rowing Club, Sexton and Jones, club based in Adelaide in South Australia, continuing to lead as they make their way up towards 1,350 metres gone. And still from Kate Morris and Alexandria Morgan McDonald in this reverse lane order. Still continuing to be the case. Commercial there in 3rd, in 4th, Brisbane and GPS with Champion and Turner. And Katie Tagg and Sandra Sweeney in the new colours of Canberra Rowing Club. They've been around about 3 years. It was rather contentious when it was brought in. They're there in the blue colours with the very unique design with the dots there on their Zudi. So they're just drawing up almost level with the Brisbane and GPS combination of Champion and Turner. Just 0.01 separating Commercial and the second of the Brisbane and GPS crews. And Canberra just 0.55 back. So this is where the 4 qualifiers are going to come from for the semi-finals. The rest will be eliminated from this club women's double scull event.
And Owen, how about that? Half a second the difference between 4th and 5th, that all-important 4th spot. I think this one's going to go right down to the wire.
That's right. So no second chance after this. This is the second chance. This is the repechage. And it's de-rig after this if you're not in the top 4. So Canberra Rowing Club trying to move up with Brisbane and GPS, Champion and Turner, and Saggers and Townsend of Commercial Rowing Club have been passed now by the second of the Brisbane and GPS boats, and now just starting to increase their rating, and they've responded. So trying desperately to hold on to that third spot, and Canberra Rowing Club throwing out a challenge to Brisbane and GPS. First place still looking comfortable in the hands of LOS and CRC, Sexton and Jones. And this great sprint going on for a top 4 placing with Canberra Rowing Club. 2 crews from Brisbane and GPS and Commercial, and they just continue to bows, just bobbing past one another. It's now Canberra Rowing Club back in 5th position and needing to find something in this last 120 metres if they're going to remain in this club women's double scull event. Tom Dornbos coached Loretto Old Scholars and Community Rowing Club. They're in first spot, and Morris and Morgan McDonald of Brisbane and GPS in second, Commercial in third, and the second of the Brisbane and GPS crews are in fourth spot, but Canberra Rowing Club throwing everything at them. Lost and CRC claiming the win. Brisbane and GPS, Morris and Morgan McDonald second, third to Commercial, fourth to Brisbane and GPS, and they're the 4 qualifiers. Canberra unfortunate to be eliminated from the event as a result of finishing 5th. Sydney University will be 6th, and then ANU in 7th, and Brisbane and GPS with Morris and Butler placing 8th.
So Loss and CRC threw in that unofficial time of 8:01.15. Brisbane and GPS also through to the semi-finals, along with Commercial and the other Brisbane and GPS crew in lane 3. Canberra will miss out. That's the crew of Katie Tagg and Sandra Sweeney, along with Sydney University and ANU, who crossed the line in 7th. Brisbane and GPS's third crew in lane number 1. They'll be missing out, eliminated as well from the club women's double scull. I'm just going through the start list for the club men's double scull. This is heat number 1, so the first 2 through to the final. A couple of heats in this event. In lane number 1, Bowen Hafey and Angus Thornton, coached by William Raven from Banks. Lane 2, Jack Nilsson and Till Winchman, coached by Daniel Ralph. They're from Adelaide. In lane 3, ANU's Douglas Horn and Tom Anglim Lagones. In lane 4, Colin Chapman and Henry Borger, coached by Alan Borger from Pine Rivers. Lane 5, it's Newcastle Uni, Lucas Macbeth and Odin McIntosh. Lane 6, Fremantle's Liam Davis and Jack Sheriff, coached by Tom Gaddy. In lane 7, Melbourne University's Jeffrey Rees and Peter Antoni. And in lane 8, Dylan Boakes and Charlie Patterson from Sydney Rowing Club, coached by Franz Imfield and Jonathan Seck.
And that's the Sydney Rowing Club crew on screen now. Dylan Boakes in the bow seat, Charlie Patterson in the stroke seat, coached by Franz Imfeld and Donovan Seck. And their crew that was leading through the first 500 in this one. But one of these crews is not like the others, and that's the Melbourne University crew in lane number 7. Jeff Rees, a FISA champion in 1974 in the lightweight 4. Peter Anthony, Olympic gold medalist in 1992 in the men's double sculls. They are certainly the elder statesmen of this field in the club men's double sculls. And it'll be very, very interesting to see how they go in this one. You certainly know they will fight all the way to the end. And we'll just see how they go, because they're giving away quite a number of years on the other competitors in this field.
So I'm thinking if this race was started about 30 years earlier, Owen, they would be performing a little better, you would think.
If this race was 30 years earlier, yeah, you would...
maybe not in this race.
It mightn't even have been a race, but they would be well out in front. So, but really interesting to see how they go. Boakes and Patterson leading, and they lead from Lucas Macbeth and Odin McIntosh of Newcastle University Boat Club. Adelaide Rowing Club second from the far side of the course are in third, and the Australian National University in 4th place. Banks in 5th, and then followed by Fremantle and Pine Rivers. And in 8th position is the crew that we're talking about, the Melbourne University Boat Club crew.
And interestingly, Dylan Boakes and Odin McIntosh, so Dylan Boakes in lane 8, the Sydney crew that's leading, and Odin McIntosh is in the uni crew in second at the moment. Those two were in the open men's double last year in the final. They missed out on a medal, but they were in that race, and Probably not surprising to see those two with different partners up in the top two in this particular race. Lucas Macbeth, the head coach of Newcastle Grammar Rowing Club, who, as we mentioned, have had a tough time of it late since those storms on the Manning River, and Charlie Patterson with Dylan Boak. So I would expect these two crews to go a long way towards claiming a medal in this particular event. Two strong crews there.
Yeah, Lucas Macbeth, he's just a big, powerful guy, and he's with an even bigger one in Odin McIntosh. They're two very big guys, and really just constant push on that foot stretcher as they drive the legs down, and that's them in second position that you can see in the centre of the screen. But nearest to us is the Sydney Rowing Club crew. Dylan Boakes, very intense character. Charlie Patterson has been part of the Kings Cup Centenary campaign with ADF Rowing. His dad, Scott Patterson, has been behind an absolutely fantastic project to put a full feature documentary on the centenary of the Kings Cup, and he's here at the regatta this week. In fact, over near the Croker Oars tent, you will see the oars that Howard Croker made for that, and the Donoratico 8, which John Dreesen has made riggers for to replicate boats of yesteryear. So on screen, Boakes and Patterson leading, coming into the last 300 metres, and they lead from Adelaide Rowing Club. That's Jack Nielsen and Till Wickman, coached by Daniel Ralph. And just the top two going through to the final, and the rest will have to go to the repechage. See what Newcastle University Boat Club have got in store for this. A couple of really big guys. Lucas Macbeth is a renowned sprinter. He started his rowing up at Grafton Rowing Club on the mighty Clarence River, and was a very, very good junior. He's a good rugby player as well, Lucas Macbeth, and he's the head coach of Newcastle Grammar School. He's actually subbing in this one for Rowan Hislop, who's the head coach at Hunter Valley Grammar School, and they're having a good tussle with Adelaide Rowing Club to see who will go through in this heat, and then who will have to go via the repechage.
It's going to be tight, isn't it, between Uni and Adelaide? Really tight.
Yeah. So the Adelaide crew giving away quite a bit of size to the big boys from Newcastle University. And it is Sydney Rowing Club, Dylan Boakes and Charlie Patterson that take out heat one of the club men's double scull. Second to Newcastle University Boat Club. Macbeth and McIntosh, those two go through to the final directly. A repechage awaits Adelaide. They place third. And a good race going on for fourth between Banks and Fremantle. Banks just with their bow in front. And likewise, Pine River's just starting to row through an ANU crew that realises that they've got another race ahead of them and they're coasting home. So Banks fourth, Fremantle fifth, and then it was Pine River's sixth, ANU seventh. And the very experienced Jeff Rees and Peter Anthony will cross in eighth position.
So just confirming, Sydney Rowing Club through in 6:53.28, along with Newcastle University's Lucas Macbeth and Odin McIntosh. And having to go via the repechage, Adelaide Banks, Fremantle, Pine Rivers, ANU, and Melbourne University. So those two mates that teamed up for the under-23 men's double last year, Odin McIntosh and Dylan Boakes, they'll be going through in different crews this year in the club men's double scull. As we look now at the start list of heat number 2, first two once again through to the final. In lane 2, Tom Ratter and Daniel Parrish from Banks, Shane Howe and Sebastian Francis from Melbourne Uni in lane 3, Max Durham and Justin Brown from Mossman in 4, Harrison Rouston and Zach Noble from Sydney Uni in lane number 5, Damien Richardson and Tom Cragen from ADF Rowing, they're in lane 6, Ben Wisdom and Mark Doyle from UTS in 7, and James Price and Tim Santon from Adelaide in lane number 8. And there are the splits at the halfway point, UTS ahead of Adelaide.
Yeah, so UTS leading by just 1.07 seconds from the Adelaide Rowing Club crew of Price and Santon, coached by the evergreen Darren Potts. They're the crew in lane number 8, and then it is the ADF crew, Richardson and Cregan, and then followed by Harry Roaston and Zach Noble of Sydney University Boat Club in 4th. And Hoff and Francis of Melbourne University in 5th. Banks are 6th and Mossman in 7th position. So the left of screen is the UTS crew, Mark Doyle and Benjamin Wisdom. I think Ben Wisdom's one of the Dartmouth guys. There's been quite a few Dartmouth guys that have come over to UTS and rowing out of there. They jokingly refer to themselves as the homeless of rowing, though anyone's welcome to swing by and go for a paddle. And the Dartmouth guys took up Tim McLaren's offer to come over and have a paddle at UTS. And Mark Doyle and Benjamin Wisdom just being eclipsed by the Adelaide crew.
Well, how good's the last name? Oh, last name of Wisdom. It doesn't get much better than that, does it? I know.
That's right. Hopefully makes that degree a bit easier. So, so Adelaide on lane number 8, leading lane number 7 UTS. And alongside of them is the ADF rowing crew, Damien Richardson and Tom Cregan. And coached by Ian Smith, Kim Fisher and Jeff Brown. It's those three, the top 3 going through the 1500 metre mark. And then back to Huff and Francis of Melbourne University Boat Club. And they're then followed by Harry Roaston and Zach Noble of Sydney University. And then it is back to Banks and Mossman in final place. So 7 in this. Top 2 going through to the final. Rest going through to the repechage. And it looks to be the 3 lanes over on this side of the course. The northern side or grandstand side of the course, lanes 8, 7 and 6, where the interest is going to be on those top 2 qualification spots. I think Melbourne University's got a bit too much to do over in lane number 3 if they're to try and reel in these top 3 crews. But a bit of a finish coming from the ADF rowing crew. 3 out from the grandstand. They're on 34 strokes a minute. They try and move up on the UTS crew. Got a very, very flat draw through as they are moving down this course. We get into the last 160 metres, and it's Adelaide Rowing Club that have nearly moved out to a little bit of clear water now over this great race that's going on for second spot. UTS just having a bit of a look across left and right, see where ADF rowing and see where Adelaide are, and the ADF crew just starting to now move up into second position, and UTS in third. Top 2 going through to the final, and the rest go through a repechage. And it will be Adelaide Rowing Club and ADF Rowing that have the strongest second half of the race. And they're the 2 qualifiers, first and second. UTS place third, 4th Melbourne University Boat Club, 5th Sydney University Boat Club, 6th Banks, and 7th the Red and White Hoops of Mossman.
So confirming the unofficial times, Heat 2 of the club men's double scull. Adelaide go through in a time of 6:48.41. That crew of James Price and Tim Santon. And ADF rowing through in second, Damien Richardson, Tom Cregan. Those 2 go through to the semi-finals. UTS, Melbourne Uni, Sydney Uni, and Banks along with Mossman will have to go via the repechage. Now we get a look at the club women's coxless 4, 2 heats in this. Same story as the men and women's double. Top 2 through to the final. Rest to the repechage in lane 1, University of WA. Lane 3, Melbourne Uni. Sydney Uni in 4. Adelaide in 5. ANU in lane 6. Sydney Rowing Club in lane 7. So a neat spread of clubs from across the country in this heat number 1 of the club women's coxless 4.
And currently on screen is crew in lane number 4, Sydney University Boat Club, Portia Gateskill, Sophie Houston, Danielle Stewart, Sarah Parsons, coached by Alfie Young, that are out to the best part of a boat length from Adelaide Rowing Club, Anna Collins, Jill Crow, Mika Webb, Aina Seed. And then in third spot is the Melbourne University Boat Club crew, 4th Sydney Rowing Club, 5th the University of Western Australia, and then they're followed by ANU in 6th position. So top 2 through to the final, rest through to the repechage from these 2 heats of the club women's coxless 4. So to the right of screen, Sydney Rowing Club, Mia Thomas, Kirsten Luton, Brianna Caputo, Ella Hudson. She's had a very busy regatta, Ella Hudson. And they're coached by Lachlan Carter and Donovan Seck. And sitting in 4th position, as you can see, the Sydney University, Adelaide and Sydney Rowing Club crews on screen. So Sydney Rowing Club in the yellow boat, and just to their stroke side or their right, or to the top of the screen ahead of them, is Melbourne University B. Klein Van Mullicum, who's a very, very good Masters rower. She was silver medalist in the Champion of Champion women's single scull at the Australian Masters last year after taking out the women's D single scull, which is the over 50 category. Is there in the Melbourne University Boat Club crew with Peter Rack, Samantha Beveridge and Justine Tonner-Joyce. They're coached by Nicholas Stevenson. So that's the MUBC crew in the white boat, currently at the top of the picture in this one. At Sydney University Boat Club, still with a lengths advantage, remains unchanged over Adelaide Rowing Club as they come through the 1500 metre mark. Melbourne University moving ahead of, or maintaining their advantage over Sydney Rowing Club, who are 4th. And then it is back to the crew from the University of Western Australia, and in 6th place is the Australian National University Boat Club.
Bit of work to do for Melbourne Uni, almost 3.5 seconds behind with 500 metres to travel, and you can see them in lane 3 over on that far side. So they'll be looking to overhaul Adelaide, who are in lane 5, and they're trying to pick it up. Melbourne Uni, that crew, Bea Klein Van Mullicom, Peter Rack, Sam Beveridge and Justine Tonner-Joyce, coached by Nick Stevenson. So a bit of work to do if they are to avoid the repechage and make it through to the final, Melbourne University, but they're going about it pretty nicely at the moment.
Yeah, so certainly a good second half of the race from Melbourne University Boat Club. Adelaide there in 2nd spot, about 34 strokes a minute. Similar rating from Sydney University at the head of the field. And it's these two that are currently in the qualification spots. A few little steering ins and outs from Melbourne University in the latter stages of this one. And they might have a bit too much to do in the last 120 metres for them. A bit under 100 metres now to go for the leading boat from Sydney University Boat Club. Adelaide have gotten an overlap with them. But with the top 2 to go through, it looks as though Sydney University and Adelaide will be the 2 qualifiers out of this first heat of the Club Women's Coxless 4. And Sydney University Boat Club with a good controlled win. Adelaide Rowing Club placing 2nd. Melbourne University will be one to watch in the repechage. And they will join Sydney Rowing Club, who placed 4th, UWA, who will be 5th, and ANU 6th.
So confirming the unofficial times from race 3:53. Sydney University through in 7:07:07. In 2nd, Adelaide 1.53 seconds further back. So Sydney Uni and Adelaide through. Melbourne Uni, Sydney University of WA, and also ANU will have to go via the repechage. Heat 2 of the Club Women's Coxless 4. In this one, ANU in lane number 3, UTS in 4, Melbourne Uni in 5, WA Rowing Club in 6, and Buckingham in lane 7. So 2 again through, 3 will miss out and have to go through the repechage.
And Janelle Austin, who's in the West Australian Rowing Club crew in this one, was a bronze medalist in the Open Lightweight Women's Double Scull. She's in the West Australian Rowing Club crew, which is 2nd from the bottom of the screen in the cardinal colours. That's currently in 2nd place as they come through the 1,000 metre mark. And it's UTS leading from West Australian Rowing Club. Buckingham on this side of the course are in 3rd, Melbourne University in 4th, and ANU in 5th. Yes, Janelle Austin asked me earlier at the regatta if she was the oldest person competing at the regatta, but I think this might answer the question in this one. There's quite a few older competitors than her in this, and we saw Anthony and Rees in the club men's double scull. But Adair Ferguson, the world champion in the lightweight single sculls is in the ANU boat with Kerry Nola, Selena Rowland and Diane Grant. A very, very experienced crew. They raced ANU with a similar lineup last year in this event, and I think they got through to the final. Top 2 to the final in this one though, so they've got a fair bit of work to do, it would seem, if they're going to get through directly. In the UTS boat, Rosie Beasley, who was a reserve for the New South Wales Victoria Cup crew last year. Olivia Bartram, who's been on numerous Australian underage teams, Adelaide Guinness in the 3-seat, and Monique Heinke in the stroke seat, the 2-time Olympian Monique Heinke, and represented Australia also at about 4 senior world championships, and always evergreen and an epitome of fitness in the black, white and teal boat that continues to lead, but the crews on this side of the course having a good third 500 metres. Buckingham in the yellow boat and West Australian Rowing Club. Buckingham, Courtney Blythe, Julie Janssens, Abby Crow, Christy Crow, and West Australian Rowing Club, Georgia Seed, Paris Kapoor, Alex McLaren and Janelle Austin.
And Georgia Seed took out a bronze medal in the under-21 lightweight women's single scull. She's in that boat from WA Rowing Club in lane 6. They're looking as though they might have a bit to do here. They're in 3rd place and they've got 0.74 seconds to pull back if they are to go through to the final.
Yeah, less than 1 1/4 seconds between 1st and 3rd in this one, with a third quarter of the race remaining. A few little steering issues there for Melbourne University. In the centre of the course, they're in 4th spot, and they got a pretty handy advantage, nearly 5 seconds over ANU in that race for 4th and 5th. But it looks as though they'll be going through to the repechage, and it'll be between UTS, Buckingham, and West Australian Rowing Club to see where the 2 qualifiers will emerge. Buckingham from Tasmania with Blythe, Janssens, Crow and Crow. They've had a very good second half of the race. And
are they ahead? Are they ahead of UTS? It's tight, isn't it?
Certainly been moving, and West Australian Rowing Club have gone into their sprint now and seeing if they can try and reel them in there at 37 strokes a minute.
Well, my question is, could UTS go into the last 500 in first and miss out totally on the top 2?
Yeah, that's a possibility, but certainly the odds of them qualifying are still pretty good. They're still in 2nd position behind the race leaders Buckingham on this side of the course, and West Australian Rowing Club have got that margin down to about 1/3 of a boat length. And closing, but still UTS in 2nd spot with a very experienced Monique Heinke in the stroke seat. Buckingham claimed the win. UTS, the 2nd direct qualifier for the final as a result of finishing 2nd. West Australian Rowing Club placed 3rd. Melbourne Uni will be 4th, and ANU will join their other ANU crew in the repechage.
So Buckingham through in 7:14.16. UTS just getting there for 2nd in front of WA Rowing Club. The gap there, 0.82 seconds. Melbourne Uni 4th, ANU 5th. So WA Rowing Club, Melbourne Uni, ANU to the repechage. Buckingham and UTS to the final. Now on to the men's event, the club men's Coxless 4, heat number 1. First 2 through to the final again in this event. And we'll bring you those starting lists in just a second. Here they are. Banks in lane 2, UTS 3, Melbourne Uni in 4, Tasmania University in 5, Melbourne University in 6, and Mercantile in lane 7. And I can see that Melbourne University crew as Isaac Smith, formerly from Newcastle Rowing Club. He rode the Open Men's Double a couple of years ago, I can remember, at this regatta, now in the Club Men's Coxless 4. And they're looking good at the moment in 2nd place, Mercantile ahead.
Yeah, so Isaac Smith having rode for Melbourne University in the Australian boat race as well. And but yeah, it is the Mercantile crew leading at the halfway mark, 1.34 ahead of the top of Melbourne University crew, and then followed by Banks, Tasmania University, UTS, and the second of the Melbourne University crews, which is the crew of Dunlap, Innes Kerr, Hanbury Senior and Nusky, and coached by Michael Poulter. And they're just a bit back off the pace in this one. So top two going through to the final and the rest going through to the repechage. And it's Mercantile Carl Tomzak who's been part of their Penrith Cup crews. Jack Kelly, James Hoban, Angus Maloney, and coached by the evergreen David Pincus, who's done a fantastic job at Mercantile over many, many years with the youth development. And coached the crew to the final at Henley in the Wyfold Fours this year. David Pincus, and he's certainly enjoying this, watching his Mercantile crew looking the goods here in this first heat of the Club Men's Coxless 4 as they lead Melbourne University, Isaac Smith, Hamish Rowlands, Sam Morrison and Jonathan Hookway. In second position, Tasmania University. You can see on screen there James Cocker, Sam Hall, Tom Cox, Sean Finlayson, coached by Mark Stott, and they're in third place. Banks are in fourth, UTS in fifth, and that second Melbourne University crew off a little bit back in sixth position.
It looks as though they just have enough of an advantage, the Melbourne Uni crew in lane 4 ahead of Tasmania University, their fellow university club from a little further south of Melbourne, down in Tassie.
Yeah, they're still at 37 strokes a minute. MUBC in second position. But it's Mercantile at the head of the field that have looked good all the way down the course. And they will go straight through to Sunday's final with a win here in the Club Men's Coxless 4. Second to go to Melbourne University Boat Club, Smith, Rowlands, Morrison and Hookway. They're the two qualifiers. Tasmania University third, Banks fourth. Fifth will be UTS and sixth, Melbourne University.
So just confirming those unofficial times, Mercantile through to the final in 6:18.95. Melbourne Uni 5.42 seconds further back. Tasmania University will miss out and they'll go into the repechage along with Banks, UTS and also Melbourne University, the lane 6 crew. We'll just cross the line now, so Melbourne Uni going through to that repechage tomorrow. Okay, heat number 2 of the same event, Club Men's Coxless 4, lane 2, the Australian Defence Force Academy. In lane 3, ADF rowing. 4, Swan River. In lane 5, it's an Australian Defence Force and Australian Defence Force Academy composite crew. Sydney in 6, ADF rowing in 7. So this one packed with some ADF crews. Owen.
Yeah, so we'll see if they can grab one of the top 2 spots on offer and try and qualify directly for the final. Through the first 500, though, it was Sydney Rowing Club that led from Swan River. And then the first of the ADF crews, that's the Casey Pikett crew. We're in third ahead of the Gillespie crew. And then back to the Australian Defence Force Academy in fifth position. And then the second ADF or ADFA crew was in sixth position. That is the crew with Ben Page in it. So that's the field, but now they're starting to make their way up to the halfway mark, and it is Sydney Rowing Club that continue to lead Swan River. And the Swan River boat, Hugo Nerritt, who we saw grab a good bronze medal earlier on today in the double scull. They're in the Club Men's 4, and they're well placed in second spot with some clear water over the 2 ADF rowing crews, where just 0.06 separates them, and then back to the Australian Defence Force Academy crew in lane number 2, and then the ADF rowing and Australian Defence Force Academy composite out of lane number 5, back in 6th position. Sydney Rowing Club, represented by Max Brenner, who's had a bit of an injury run in the last little bit, so it's great to see him back out on the water and racing. Thomas Galloway, Oscar Carr Middleton, who is back after having rowed in the Eton College first 8 under Mark Fangenhall, the former Australian national team coach, and Oscar Olsen, who is current world junior champion for Great Britain in the junior men's 8. They went about 5:35, an absolutely flying crew. A number of guys from the St Paul's 8 that won at Henley that absolutely dominated there and smashed the course record. Were part of that crew with Oscar Olsen, and they're moving along very, very nicely indeed. Sydney crew coached by Franz Imfeld and Donovan Seck, and that's them on screen in the yellow boat.
Those two crews out in front, Sydney and Swan River, pretty comfortable at the moment from the 4 ADF and Australian Defence Force Academy boats who are sitting behind them. So it looks as though the ADFA and ADF rowing crews will have to go via the repechage. They are pushing up here. The ADF rowing crew in lane 7, Carl Blimeshine, Nick Waugh, Owen Hingston and Simon Gillespie. They're in lane 7, but it's 7.5 seconds the gap, and that looks to be a bridge too far with 500 left.
Yeah, certainly a bit of ground for them to try and make up on the Swan River crew that hold down second spot. Sydney are cruising, so they've got time to even just have a little bit of a park at the finish before they move out there for that next stroke. And they look the goods in this one. They've cruised through just under 5 minutes through the 1,500 metres, and I don't think they're going to be too fussed. We'll see if they're going to just lift the rating a little bit and ensure that they hold off Swan River, or whether they just try and just match them at a much lower rating. Sydney just down around about 25 strokes a minute and cruising out of this field. Swan River got the rating right up in a second position and closing the gap. Bit of a look across from Oscar Olsen to the Swan River boat. And Sydney Rowing Club just accelerated through to the finish a little bit and just managed to keep the Swan River Club from Western Australia in second spot. So Sydney Rowing Club hold on, claim a convincing win in the club men's Coxless Full with a very strong performance there. Swan River placing second. Those two go through to the final. ADF rowing out of lane 7. That's the Simon Gillespie crew. They place third ahead of their fellow crew in lane number 3, who are fourth. And then back to the Australian Defence Force Academy crew in 5th position. You see in the camouflage colours. Well, hopefully you can see in the camouflage colours. But yeah, a bit of a couple of bad strokes there with about 6 to go. And they'll have time to work on that before the repechage. So it'll be the 2 ADF, or 2 ADFA crews that will be 5th and 6th respectively in this second heat of the club men's 4.
So Sydney Rowing Club through in 6:39.46. Swan River second, 0.88 further back, and the 4 ADF and ADFA crews through to the repechage. All right, Schoolgirl Single Scull is now on the water, repechage number 1. We've got 3 repechages in this particular race. Oh, no, we haven't. We've got 5. 5 repechages, so plenty of Schoolgirl Single Sculling to come. In lane number 2, Caitlin McManus-Barrett from Sydney Girls. In lane 3, Eve Timms from Barker College. Laura Cypher from Rockhampton Grammar in lane 4. Anne Wasson from Mary McKillop in 5. Maddie Lamb from St Mary's Tasmania in 6. Bronte Cathcart from Brisbane Girls Grammar School in 7. And Sarah Reynolds from Kinross Walleroy in lane 8.
Through the first 500 metres, it was Eve Timms of Barker College that led in 1:59.58 from Anne Wasson of Mary McKillop, and then back to Laura Cypher of Rockhampton Grammar School, further 2.05 back. Brisbane Girls Grammar School's Brodie Cathcart in 4th, Caitlin McManus-Barrett of Sydney Girls High in 5th, Maddie Lamb of St Mary's Tasmania in 6th, and Sarah Reynolds of Kinross Walleroy School in 7th position. So the Sculls in lane 6 and 8, just dropping back a little bit in this first 500 metres. The leading boats just start to make their way up to the 900 metre mark. And the top right of the screen is Barker College, which was previously a boys' school and the last few years has gone co-educational. And Eve Timms, coached by Robin Mackney. She rose out of Drummoyne Rowing Club and leading from Mary McKillop's Anne Wasson. Just the top two to go through to the semi-finals, or the top two semi-finals. And then 3 through to 5 go to semi-finals 3 and 4. And then the rest through to semi-finals 5 and 6. So in this schoolgirl single scull there is exhaustive finals. So if you get in the top two semi-finals, that means a chance to go through to A or B finals. And then after that, C or D finals. And then after that, E and F finals, which will kick off the program on Sunday morning.
Yeah, big Sunday morning of schoolgirls finals and also schoolboys finals in the single sculls. So yeah, top two through to those semis, and it's a massive event every year. Great to see the numbers again this year that we're seeing in the schoolgirls and schoolboys single sculls, meaning that we've got 5 repechagers, so 10 scullers to go through into those semis to join the athletes that are already there.
Yeah, so in the heats yesterday, it was just the top scullers going through automatically, and so that was just 6 scullers went through yesterday, and there'll be another 10 go through to the top 2 semi-finals to give you a two semi-finals of 8, and then we form the other semi-finals below that. So it's been a very good middle thousand by the sculler in the yellow boat in the Pine Rivers colours. That's Mary McKillop, Anne Wasson, coached by Ray Smith and Keith Watts. And she's there and leading the sculler from Barker College, Eve Timms. And then back to Caitlin McManus Barrett of Sydney Girls over on the far side in the brown and gold colours. Sydney Girls High, which is a school located right near the soon-to-be-demolished Sydney Football Stadium.
Guys to do an announcement on say every half hour, advising that we're expecting a strong weather system to come through tonight. All boats should be tied down, and tents and whatever else, make sure you either pull them down or they're securely tied down. Yep, all right. No worries. Thanks, guys.
No worries.
So through the 1500 metre mark, Mary McKillop's Anne Wasson, leading from Eve Timms of Barker College, 0.14 in it. Caitlin McManus Barrett a further 6.42 seconds back in third. And fourth, Rockhampton Grammar's Laura Cypher. And a bit of a gap to Brisbane Girls, Grammar Brodie Cathcart, Maddie Lamb of St Mary's in 6th, and 7th, SIRR Reynolds of Kinross Wallaroy School on this side of the course. And conditions here look very, very good, but Ben, you've got an announcement about what they may be like overnight.
Yes, I'm not a meteorologist, but we've just received word that there is a strong weather system expected tonight, so make sure all boats are tied down. So just to ensure everyone, keep your boats tied down, secure and safe. So this strong weather system coming through tonight does not impact them or damage any boats. So just a reminder to everyone that that strong weather system coming through tonight. But a strong finish, interesting finish coming up here in this first repechage, Owen.
Yes, Caitlin McManus Barrett of Sydney Girls High is having a push, along with Laura Cypher of Rockhampton Grammar. Cypher was 4th in her under-17 double scull earlier on this morning. She's currently in 4th here, but trying to improve that to 3rd and see if she can put some pressure on the leaders in the closing stages of this one. But it is still Anne Wasson of Mary McKillop in the Pine Rivers colours there that is leading this one. And the Mary McKillop, Anne Wasson, is going to take it out. And joining her in the semi-finals 1 and 2 will be Eve Timms of Barker College. And Rockhampton Grammar's Laura Cypher finishes strongly to claim 3rd. Caitlin McManus Barrett finishing in 4th. And 5th will go to Brisbane Girls Grammar School, Brodie Cathcart. 6th to Maddie Lamb of St Mary's, Tasmania. is only just narrowly ahead of Kinross Wallaroy's SIRR Reynolds, who's had a good back end of this one.
So the top two going through to the semi-finals. Anne Wasson in 8:30.15. Eve Timms also through in 1.77 seconds further back. Laura Cypher, Caitlin McManus-Barrett, Bronte Cathcart, Maddie Lamb and Sarah Reynolds will all go into the rest of the semi-finals. 3 to 5 to semis 3 and 4, and the rest, Maddie Lamb and Sarah Reynolds, they'll go through to semi-finals 5 and 6. Repechage 2 is on the water and on its way down. We'll bring you the start list. Thanks for your company as well on the live stream, wherever you're watching around the country. Maybe you're in SIRR watching it, but it doesn't matter where. It's great to have your viewership this afternoon for these schoolgirls single sculls. The repechage number 2, first the schoolgirls, and then it will be the school boys. We've got 5 repechages in that as well. Here's the start list for repechage 2. Meg Cartwright from Cardinia International College in lane 2. Claire Robinson from Colo High in lane 3. Tonya Lochtef from Adelaide High in 4. Cleo Wilson from St Ignatius, South Australia. She's in lane 5. Laura Wunderlicht from Hornsby Girls in 6. Liz McPherson from Brisbane Girls Grammar School in 7. And Claire Saggers from Brisbane Girls Grammar School in lane number 8. And they're just after the 1,000, and Laura Wunderlicht is leading. The young sculler from Hornsby Girls, Liz McPherson, in 2nd from Brisbane Girls Grammar.
Yeah, Wunderlicht coached by Hallie Chapman, David Geely and Alex Field at UTS Rowing Club. The Hornsby Girls sculler 3 out from the grandstand side, and sculler currently on screen there with the grey number 6 on her bow. And once again, top 2 gets you into the semi-finals to either go into the A or the B final, so a fair bit at stake in this one. Coming into view now, Elizabeth McPherson of Brisbane Girls Grammar School, and very close for 3rd and 4th between sculler from St Ignatius, South Australia, Cleo Wilson, and Tonya Lochtef of Adelaide High Schools. Lochtef just 0.33 ahead through the 1,500 metre mark. And then back to Meg Cartwright from Cardinia International College over on the far side of the course, and then followed by Claire Saggers of Brisbane Girls Grammar School, and then back to Claire Robinson of Colo High School in Sydney's West. So Laura Wunderlich with the lead. And in 2nd spot, Elizabeth McPherson in the almost crimson boat. 2nd out from the grandstand. And the 2 scullers from South Australia, from St Ignatius, Cleo Wilson, and Adelaide High School's Tonya Lochtef, that are trying to just creep up in this last 250 metres and see if they can sneak into semi-finals 1 and 2 to go through to the A or the B final eventually on Sunday. It's Tonya Lochtef had a good 3rd 500 metres and shifting through around about half a length ahead of Cleo Wilson of St Ignatius, and still about a length down on Brisbane Girls Elizabeth McPherson, but at the head of the field and away from all of this that is going to unfold behind her is Laura Wunderlich of Hornsby Girls. You can see the black, white and teal blades of the UTS club that she rows with in the lead, and with just 80 metres left to go, she's set to take out this 2nd repechage of the schoolgirls single scull. Elizabeth McPherson, Brisbane Girls, still holding down 2nd spot. Tonya Lochtef of Adelaide High School has thrown everything at it. She will place 3rd and go through to semi-finals 3 and 4. But yeah, Wunderlich claiming the win. McPherson 2nd. It'll be Lochtef in 3rd. Wilson in 4th. And then they'll be followed by Cartwright of Cardinia International, Saggers of Brisbane Girls Grammar, and Colo High's Claire Robinson placing 7th.
So 8:28:40, the time for Laura Wunderlicht from Hornsby Girls. So she's through to the semi-finals, along with Liz McPherson, 4.40 seconds in arrears. Tonya Lockteff, Claire Wilson, and Meg Cartwright will all go to semi-finals 3 and 4. And Claire Saggers will go through to semi-final 5 and 6, along with Colo High's Claire Robinson, who just crosses the line now. So that's all done and dusted. Repechage 2 of the schoolgirl single scull. Repechage 3 is on the water as we speak. They're about 1,000 metres into the race, and I can tell you that as it stands currently, Liz Carter from Newcastle Grammar is leading the way in 4:08 flat. So there's the list. Olivia Teasdale in lane 1 from Cardinia International College. Pippa Ford from PLC Perth in 2. Sarah Fard from Tara School in 3. Keely Dunn from Rockhampton Grammar in 4. Liz Carter from Newcastle Grammar in 5. Amy Bain from Hobart in 6. Charlotte Barry from Sydney Girls in 7. And Sarah Lai from PLC Perth in lane 8. And there you go. Liz Carter leading for Newcastle Grammar. Can I be a bit parochial, Owen? Is that all right? It's
You're
good
welcome.
to see.
You can represent the 2300.
It's good to see someone from the Hunter region leading this race. It doesn't happen too often at this regatta, so good to see Elizabeth Carter doing it for Newcastle and the Hunter region and the CDRA region, which has been hit so hard lately.
Yeah, some pretty decent margins in this field. Clear water between each of the boats as they move down the course, with Elizabeth Carter leading, Sarah Fard from Tara Anglican School for Girls. Decent push now in this third 500 from Keely Dunn, Rockhampton Grammar School, and also Hobart's Amy Bain. They're the top 4 in this, and then decent gap to the sculler from Sydney Girls. That is Charlotte Barry, Sarah Lai of PLC Perth, and then back to the 2 over towards the far side, Pippa Ford of PLC Perth and Olivia Teasdale, Cardinia International College. In final place on screen, Elizabeth Carter, Newcastle Grammar School, and we've seen this push from Keely Dunn of Rockhampton Grammar has moved her way into second spot, ahead of Sarah Fard of Tara Anglican School for Girls, which is a Parramatta-based school in Western Sydney. And Carter leads by just over a length. So Keely Dunn, very strong. Middle 1,000 from her, from Rockhampton Grammar, coached by Robin Fay. And moving up into second spot, and 3.79 seconds back to Sarah Fard. Amy Bain in 4th position. And then it is back to the sculler from Sydney Girls High School, Charlotte Barry in 5th position, but it's 13.5 seconds back to 5th. And then followed by Sarah Lai of PLC Perth, and the 2 scullers over on the far side of the course.
And Liz Carter, coached by Lucas Macbeth and Amy Hill. We did see Lucas Macbeth on the course a little earlier, going through in the club men's double scull. We're saying there's a lot of things he can do, play rugby. I think the question is there anything he can't do? He was actually one of my PE teachers at school, so I have to give him a plug, don't I? He was a good teacher.
There you go, there you go. So
now he's at Newcastle Grammar, doing a terrific job with that rowing base there, which has been building over the years.
Yeah, and Amy Hill, former student at the school, back on as part of the coaching team there. But a terrific job coming from Keely Dunn at Rockhampton Grammar School. Moved her boat into the race lead, and she's just made sure she didn't go out too hard in this one. Had plenty left in the tank to bring it home with, and been a very, very good race from her, and we'll get to see her fight it out for a spot in the A final, because she's set to go through to semi-finals 1 or 2. Elizabeth Carter, who led for the bulk of the race, still in second spot. Sarah Fard in 3rd, and Hobart's Amy Bain in 4th position. Well, that's not a huge gap between 3rd and 4th.
No.
So Keely Dunn, Rockhampton Grammar School, just with another 3 strokes to go, and she will cross the line and take out repechage number 3. Head of Elizabeth Carter of Newcastle Grammar School. Those 2 go through to semi-finals 1 and 2. Sarah Fard of Tara School will cross in third spot ahead of Hobart's Amy Bain. And then it'll be back to Charlotte Barry of Sydney Girls in fifth. Sixth to Sarah Lai of PLC Perth. Olivia Teasdale has come up trumps in the tussle with Pippa Ford of PLC Perth. And they will place 7th and 8th respectively.
So going through to the semi-final, number 1 and 2, Keely Dunn in 8:27.02. She's joined by Elizabeth Carter from Newcastle Grammar, and then Sarah Fard, Amy Bain and Charlotte Barry. They will all go to semi-finals 3 to 5. And I should say semi-finals 3 and 4. And the rest, Sarah Lai, and you can see over there Olivia Teasdale and Pippa Ford, they will go through to semi-finals 5 and 6. So the penultimate repechage now, repechage number 4. As we just say, Olivia Teasdale crossed the line and Pippa Ford is over now. So that ties that one up with a nice bow. Repechage 3 of schoolgirl single scull. So here it is, the second last repechage of the schoolgirl single scull. Madison joins from St Paul's Grammar in 2. Maddie Howard from Redlands in 3. Jacinta Buckman from Radford College in 4. Maxine Franz from Sydney Secondary College in 5. Alex White from Furbank Grammar in lane 6. Corby Holmberg from Newcastle Grammar in lane 7. And Charlotte Ferguson from PLC Perth in lane number 8. But I think we're going to have a change in the commentary box. I'm leaving at just the wrong time. All the Newcastle rowers are coming through now. I'm going to hand over to Richard Dorstein, who will be in here shortly, and Lizzie Chapman's not too far away.
Lizzie's not here yet, so you might have to stay.
Yeah, so Corby Holmberg of Newcastle Grammar School currently in third position in this one, who Ben's referring to. And Jacinta Buckman of Radford College out of Canberra in the ACT. Their campus located right next to the University of Canberra. And she's currently trailing the race leader, Sydney Secondary College's Maxine Franz, who led at the halfway mark in 4:06.63 as the scullers make their way up towards the 1400 metre mark. So Maxine Franz on screen, that leads this one from Jacinta Buckman of Radford College, who's coached by Erin Nur and Sam Durnell. And these two very, very well placed as they're about to make their way through the 1500 metre mark. And Corby Holmberg of Newcastle Grammar in third position. He'll just start to make her way into the bottom of the screen very soon. There we are, the bow number 7 coming into view. Corby Holmberg, Newcastle Grammar School in third place. Just 0.53 Jacinta Buckman trails Maxine Franz of Sydney Secondary College. In fourth position, we have Alex White of Furbank Grammar. And then followed by Maddie Howard of Redlands, second from the far side of the course. And then it's back to Madison Joiners of St Paul's Grammar. And Charlotte Ferguson of PLC Perth, part of David Milne's big group from PLC Perth that have made the long, long trek across the country. About 42 hours of trailer driving time if you're towing boats over. So seen a bit of a sprint now coming from Jacinta Buckman of Radford College as she's assumed the race lead ahead of Maxine Franz, Sydney Secondary College, and Corby Holmberg of Newcastle Grammar. Still in third spot, but it's Radford College, the co-educational school in Canberra, that has a sculler Buckman that leads this one around about 33 strokes a minute. In the lead from Sydney Secondary College, Blackwattle Bay's Maxine Franz. And qualification spots on offer. 1 and 2 go through to the top 2 semi-finals and a chance to go through to finals A and B. And then places 3, 4 and 5 go through to semi-finals 3 and 4. And then the rest through to semi-finals 5 and 6. So Buckman with just under a boat length's advantage over Maxine Franz, Sydney Secondary College. That's now just closing down just a touch in the latter stages of this one. And Corby Holmberg in third spot for Newcastle Grammar School. But Jacinta Buckman of Radford College, it has only 15 metres left to go, and she will take out repechage number 4 of the schoolgirl single scull. And we'll go through to semi-finals 1 and 2 with Sydney Secondary College's Maxime Franz, who places second. Third, Corby Holmberg of Newcastle Grammar School. Fourth is Alex White of Furbank Grammar. And just ahead of Maddie Howard in the yellow and blue vertical stripes of Redlands, a school formerly known as Skeggs Redlands, a co-educational school on the Sydney's North Shore. So White fourth, Howard fifth. Sixth will be Madison Joiners of St Paul's Grammar, one of the local schools here. She does her rowing out of Penrith Rowing Club on the Nepean River nearby. And PLC Perth, Charlotte Ferguson will finish in 7th place.
Thank you, Owen. And Ben, you haven't quite escaped yet. Just still a few more official duties to go through as we're watching the last sculler about to cross the line here in race 360, the PLC sculler. Charlotte Ferguson across. That race completes, and 361, Ben, is on the course.
Yeah, I tried to escape, Richard, and then the bars went up around the commentary box, so I couldn't get out. So anyway, away we go. Repechage 5 of the schoolgirls single scull. Alicia McGrath from Gippsland Grammar in 2. Zoe Kimber from Redlands in 3. Sarah Carotis from St Peter's Girls in 4. Eloise Mullins in 5 from All Hallows. Eloise Young from Brisbane Girls Grammar School in 6. Jemima Dwyer from Ganazano in 7. And Pippa Hand from PLC Perth in lane 8. Genazano?
Genazano, that's the one. Well done.
What a
Ben.
name.
Genazano, school in Melbourne. Jemima Dwyer, the sculler there for Genazano, sitting back in about 6th place at the halfway mark, and they're about to come through 1500 as well. St Peter's Girls School from Adelaide. Sarah Caradis is our race leader, with Zoe Kimber of Redlands in 2nd, and then Alish McGrath leading the charge for the Gippsland Grammar School over on the far side of the course. And the top 2 now through 1500. St Peter's first, Redlands second, still lanes 4 and 3. And Eloise Young of Brisbane Girls Grammar School has moved up into 3rd place now, but still almost 4 seconds outside the top 2, which is where she needs to be. This is the 5th and final repechage of the schoolgirls single scull. 1st and 2nd in each will move through to the semi-finals, at least the semi-finals that keep you in contention for the A final. The remainder through to the minor semi-finals for a spot in the lower ranked finals, a full set of exhaustive finals in the schoolgirls single scull. But only the top 2 in this race remain in contention for a spot in the A final, from where the medals will be awarded. Sarah Caradis of St Peter's Girls certainly looks to be in one of those spots, and the Redlands sculler Zoe Kimber is there. Eloise Young of Brisbane Girls Grammar School and Eloise Mullins of All Hallows in a battle for 4th and 5th, I would think, with Alish McGrath of Gippsland Grammar over on the far side. The Genazano sculler Jemima Dwyer is there in about 6th place, and then Pippa Han from PLC Perth. But our winner just about set here. Sarah Caradis of St Peter's Girls in Adelaide, still very comfortably clear, a couple of links now on an interesting race for 2nd place between the Redlands sculler, still Zoe Kimber over there in lane 3, and then Brisbane Girls Grammar School towards this side of the course. Eloise Young, the sculler, coached by John McGuinness, but she's got some work to do still, the sculler from Brisbane Girls Grammar School. I'd imagine training out of the commercial club in Brisbane with John McGuinness, but racing for her school, in this case, Brisbane Girls Grammar School, but she is back in third place. And it'll be a hard ask to catch Zoe Kimber of Redlands, who's coached by Rosie Moss, Ina Marshall-Davies and James Petering. But the race won by Sarah Caritas of St Peter's Girls, a comfortable win in lane 4, and second will go to the lane 3 sculler from Redlands, Zoe Kimber. They will be our qualifiers. Third does go to Eloise Young of Brisbane Girls Grammar School. Fourth to Ailish McGrath. Fifth and sixth was pretty tight there. In fact, they've called for the photo between Eloise Mullins of All Hallows and Jemima Dwyer of Genazzano. And then seventh place will go to Pippa Han of PLC Perth.
And normally that kind of photo between fifth and sixth wouldn't matter too much, but it will in this case because 3 to 5th, I should say 3rd to 5th, go through to semi-finals 3 and 4, and then the rest to 5 and 6. So we'll await that photo finish, but we do know Sarah Carotis, she's going through to the semi-final in 8:40.98. Zoe Kimber as well joins her. And there we go, confirmation. Eloise Young, Ailish McGrath and Dwyer, they are through to semi-finals 3 and 4, Jemima Dwyer, and then Eloise Mullins and Pippa Han to semis 5 and 6. So, from the schoolgirls to the schoolboys, a couple of scratchings in this particular race. Isaac Shepherd from Hunter Valley Grammar and Angus Brown from Pulteney Grammar. We've got Harry Bevan in lane 3 from Friends, Clancy Doe from Brisbane Boys in 4, Josh Hobart from the Southport School in 5, Sam Wilson from Footscray City College in 6, and Hugh Waitman from Brisbane Grammar in lane 7. And I'm a bit disappointed, Richard, obviously Isaac Shepherd a scratching from this race, but he was incredible a couple of weeks ago during those storms on the Manning River. Went out into the water, saved some of the young Newcastle Grammar rowers who were out there in their single sculls. He didn't have to do it. Very selfless acts from Isaac Shepherd and a few others from Hunter Valley Grammar, including Arthur Bowman. So disappointing to not see him start in this one, but credit to him for what he did a few weeks ago.
Indeed, yeah. So I think, as I mentioned yesterday, there was a newspaper article about the heroics of the boys from Hunter Valley Grammar School, and certainly doing, I guess, exactly the right thing in that situation. But it is a shame that Isaac Shepherd is not in this race. Hugh Waitman. He's our race leader for Brisbane Grammar School, a pretty famous name in the world of rowing. Of course, the Waitman name. He is the son of David Waitman, an Olympic silver medalist from the Atlanta Games in 1996. Rowing, of course, with the current chairman of Rowing Australia, Rob Scott, in claiming that silver medal. And it's a pretty good silver medal behind the colossus of world rowing in Sir Stephen Redgrave and Sir Matthew Pinsent in the Atlanta Games. So this is the son of David Waitman, now rowing for the Brisbane Grammar School in lane 7 and leading this first repechage of the boys' single scull. Joshua Hobart of the Southport School currently holding down second place, lane 5. And Clancy Doe from Brisbane Boys College would be there in third place. So 1, 2, 3 for Queensland at this stage of the race. Then a Victorian through Sam Wilson of Footscray City College, who's had a pretty busy week already, Sam Wilson, rowing for both his school, Footscray City College, and also for the Footscray City Rowing Club in the club events. But out of contention here, it would seem, in this first repechage. Just the top 2 to go through. And the BBC sculler, Clancy Doe, is having a good race with the Southport School over there on the centre of the course, but they sit behind Hugh Waitman of Brisbane Grammar, who looks like he'll comfortably go through, although he has a look to his right and sees these two scullers really chasing. Clancy Doe throwing everything at Joshua Herbert in the closing strokes. They're looking for one spot through to the semis. The Southport School sculler just hanging on. Brisbane Grammar get the win, and BBC will get second. Clancy Doe snatching it in the closing stroke. So Hugh Waitman first, Clancy Doe second, then Joshua Hobart in third place. Will just miss out on a trip to the semi-finals. That was fought right down to the very last stroke. Sam Wilson is next home for Footscray City College, and Harry Bevan will finish in fifth for the Friends School. But a very tight finish there between those three Queensland scullers in the first repechage of the boys' single scull.
Yeah, Josh Hobart didn't look in a good way as he crossed the line there. I don't know whether he was very disappointed or he was unwell. He looks to be all right at the moment, but what a performance at the back end from Clancy Doe, as you called it, Richard. powering over the top of Josh Hobart to claim a spot in the semi-final. And he will go through with Hugh Wakeman, who was quite comfortable in the end, 7:39.82, the unofficial time. So Josh Hobart, Sam Wilson and Harry Bevan, they will go through to semi-finals 3 and 4.
Still no Lizzie. Where is she?
And the start list for repechage 2 of the schoolboys single scull. Aries Sigavitsas from Penley and Essendon Grammar School in lane 2. Lachlan Roach from Kings in 3. Harvey Rupp from Wesley in 4. Cooper Williams from Cedar in 5. Dan Webb from Nudgee in 6. Harvey Guest from BBC in 7. And from ACGS, Liam Ardrey. And there's the 1K times. Lachlan Roach is ahead. He's from Kings. Daniel Webb in 2nd. But Harvey Rupp, he's not far behind. He's from Wesley. Just 0.64 seconds further back. So that one is quite tight at the moment. Going down to the wire with less than 1K to go.
What's SEDA? No idea.
Nah.
So a couple of acronyms there. I can tell you that Lane 8 ACGS is the Young King Church Grammar School, or Churchy from Brisbane. That's Liam Ardrey there sitting back in 5th position. It is the Kings sculler who leads this race. Lachlan Roach from Nudgee College's Daniel Webb. And then Wesley Harvey Rupp in 3rd place. I can't even tell you at this stage if that's Wesley Melbourne or Wesley Perth, but Wesley sculler 3rd. Ahead of the SEDA sculler Cooper Williams. Then Churchy's Liam Ardrey, Aris Sikovitsas from Penley and Essendon, and Harvey Guest from Brisbane Boys College is in 7th place.
Cedar College in New South Wales.
There we go. We're learning things all the time in these school races, and they go through the 1,500 metre mark as well. And it is still the Kings sculler Lachlan Roach, our race leader, and a neat 3 seconds he has over Harvey Rupp in 3rd place. Harvey Rupp from Wesley College, and he narrowly holds the margin from Cooper Williams of Cedar in New South Wales. But it's top 2 only to go through. Liam Ardrey for Churchy now in 5th place across, where he's well back, and you'd have to think out of contention, along with Aris Sikovitsas. So on into the final 300 or so metres now, and still the sculler from the King's School, Lachlan Roach, is pretty comfortably in front here, and relatively leisurely throw, it looks like, over the closing stages here, as it is for Daniel Webb of Nudgee College in lane 6. Nudgee College, of course, the first 8 Head of the River winners in Queensland for the 6th time in 7 years, just a couple of weeks ago. And then in between those two, the Cedar sculler, Cooper Williams, is coming through quite strongly indeed. So it is Lachlan Roach on the far side with some work to do now, the Kings sculler, in fact, because they really are racing in the centre lanes. Daniel Webb of Nudgee, Cooper Williams of Cedar, a bit further back, Harvey Rupp of Wesley, and Liam Ardrey of Churchy. But there's a line of 3 across the course with just 2 spots in the semi-finals up for grabs here. Lachlan Roach of Kings looks safe a couple of 100 metres to go. Now it is all in front of him. Cooper Williams of Cedar absolutely flying home. He looks to have gone from 3rd to 1st in the blink of an eye, and they're racing behind him for 2nd spot. Daniel Webb of Nudgee, Lachlan Roach of Kings in some trouble in the closing strokes. He's going to miss out. It's very close for 1st and 2nd especially, but it was lanes 5 and 6 first across. I'd give it to Cedar from Nudgee, and then Kings back in 3rd place. The computer at this stage agrees, but we'll wait on the official timing. Lane 4 will get 4th place, the Wesley sculler Harvey Rupp. 5th and 6th on opposite sides of the course. I think Churchy's Liam Ardrey will finish in 5th place. Aris Sikovitsas from Penley and Essendon in 6th. And Harvey Guest from Brisbane Boys College in 2nd place. But Cooper Williams and Daniel Webb are the 2 scullers who will move through to the semis.
Incredible. Lachlan Roach, first at the 1500, third at the 2K. He'll be devastated, just less than half a second outside the top two. So Cooper Williams through in 7:39.98 from Cedar College. There's a couple of schools, one in New South Wales, one in Victoria. Daniel Webb in second, Lachlan Roach, Harvey Rupp, Liam Ardrew there through to semis 3 and 4. And then Sikavitsis and Guest, they will go through to semis 5 and 6. So, schoolboys, I should say those two through to finals F and E. So, repechage number 3, we've got one scratching. Fraser Hunt from Wesley, he is out of the race. ACGS's Harry Knott is in lane 2. Ben Vickery from Hunter Valley Grammar in 4. Cormac Hayes from Marist College ACT in 5. Liam Davis from Christian Brothers Fremantle in 6. Zach Judge from Ignatius in 7. And Tom Clark from Brisbane Boys in 8. And my marathon session is over. Lizzie Chapman's going to come in and join you. Thanks, Richard, for your company over the last 20 or so. It's been good fun.
Thank you, Ben. Great work. Once again, we still have the pleasure of Ben's companies tomorrow morning, I believe. He's off to call some soccer matches for the remainder of the weekend, but you'll hear from him again on tomorrow's program. In the meantime, we've found Lizzie Chapman, who is moving in to Ben's seat. Just to confirm the official placings of that previous repechage, the revised timings have just come through. Cedar's Cooper Williams, the winner, as we called it, in a time of 7:40.41. But the margin back to Daniel Webb of Nudgee, just 0.05 of a second, 0.05 from first to second, and then half a second, 0.50 between him and Lachlan Roach of the King's School. So incredibly close between the top two, and then Lachlan Roach of King's, unfortunately missing out after leading the race through the 1500 metre mark. He now moves through to the minor semi-finals in repechage 2 of the boys single scull. But repechage 3 is well underway as we turn our attention down the course to that race now. And the sculler from Marist College in the ACT, Cormac Hayes, is our race leader. And we can see there he goes through the 1500 metre mark, about a length and a half in front. And alongside him is Ben Vickery of Hunter Valley Grammar in second place. And even with 500 to go, or 450 for our leaders, you can almost certainly say they'll be our two qualifiers. Harry Knott from the Anglican Church Grammar School in Brisbane sits third, but about 9 seconds off the pace. Then the Ignatius sculler Zachary Judge, and also Liam Davis from Christian Brothers in Fremantle, and Thomas Clark of Brisbane Boys College there as well. But two only to go through from this field of 6, and it looks certainly like the two scullers in the centre lane as they come down the course in something resembling the authentic arrow formation you'd expect. The leaders in the centre of the course with a smaller field of just 6 in this race. Cormac Hayes from Marist College in the Australian Capital Territory, and Ben Vickery of Hunter Valley Grammar School in New South Wales as well. Our comfortable top 2, and it continues to be Hayes by around about a length or so from Vickery. I'll have semi-finals to race tomorrow, these two. Well, all these scullers will race in a semi-final of sorts, but as far as qualifying for the A final concerns, the major semi-finals will feature just the top 2. So they'd be looking at this stage, you would think, to conserve a bit of energy after what's been a big program for many of these rowers. And that margin is closing up a little between Cormac Hayes and Ben Vickery, making up some ground in the closing strokes, but so working the harder of these two scullers as well in the closing strokes. So Cormac Hayes of Marist College in the ACT now clear by about half a length or so as they approach the finish line. Ben Vickery for Hunter Valley Grammar will join him in the semis as well. About half a length between them as they cross the line. Cormac Hayes first, Ben Vickery in second place. The Churchy sculler Harry Knott will finish in third in the yellow boat and the bright orange cap on the far side of the course. Then it will be lane 7 next home, the Ignatius sculler Zachary Judge. 5th place will go to Liam Davis of Christian Brothers Fremantle, and 6th place to Thomas Clark of Brisbane Boys College, as the last couple of scullers come home in the 3rd repechage of the schoolboys single scull. And welcome back, Lizzie Chapman.
Thank you very much, Richard. So yeah, the results of the third repechage of the schoolboys single scull. Racing into the semi-final for the A and B finals, Marist College sculler Cormac Hayes and second Hunter Valley Grammar School's sculler Ben Vickery. They did that in a time of 7:41.08 and a margin of 0.76. Third across the line, ACGS Harry Knott. Churchy. School, and in fourth position Zachary Judge of Ignatius. Fifth was Liam Davis of Kristen Brothers Fremantle. They move into semi-final 3 and 4, and Thomas Clark from Brisbane Boys moves into the semi-final for the FE final. Always so complicated with schoolboy rowing. Repechage number 4 is on the course. We have James Wilson of Friends in lane 2. In lane 3, Lachlan Donnell Wales of Townsville Grammar. In lane 4, Nick Blackman of Pembroke School. In lane 5, Jared Connolly of St Virgil's. In lane 6, Oliver Miller of Sandringham College. And in lane 7, Tim Lang of Blackburn High School.
Yeah, complex qualification system in the schoolboys single scull and the schoolgirls single scull, of course, too. Many entries in this race, so a great series of heats yesterday, 5 repechages today, and multiple semi-finals, of course, tomorrow to make our way through the full set of exhaustive finals from A down to E and F, I imagine. Or final E it will be, so 5 finals on Sunday's program to determine, in the end, the champion schoolboys single sculler of Australia. Pembroke High's Nick Blackman is the race leader here, who's coached by Simon Lane. Do you know what Pembroke from Sydney? No, no idea. As they continue on now to approach the final third of the race, getting close, in fact, to the 1,500 metre mark. But Nick Blackman of the Pembroke School, Tim Lang from Blackburn High would still be there fighting with the top couple. And Sandringham College, Oliver Miller, in fact, has moved up to take second ahead of Tim Lang of Blackburn High School. So Nick Blackman first, 5:39.92, and almost 3 seconds, or 2 3/4 seconds at least, to Oliver Miller of Sandringham College. And then the Blackburn High sculler, Tim Lang. Both Oliver Miller and Tim Lang are coached by Ben Board. Whereas the Pembroke School sculler, Nick Blackman, is coached by Simon Lane. And that's where our qualifiers are likely to come from. Further back, Lachlan Donnell Wales from Townsville Grammar. Jared Connolly of St Virgil's. And the Friends sculler, James Wilson, is over the far side of the course as well. The Pembroke School from South Australia. Nick Blackman, in fact, was the stroke of the Pembroke School 8 that raced recently at the South Australian head of the river and finished in 3rd place. So the Pembroke School from South Australia, and Oliver Miller of Sandringham College. We believe the son of Giles Miller of Regatta Shop fame. So 2 Victorians, 2nd and 3rd, Oliver Miller of Sandringham College, Tim Lang of Blackburn High School, but just the top 2 will go through. Nick Blackman over there in lane 4, who holds sway by well over a length now from the lane 6 sculler, Oliver Miller. And a similar margin, a little more than that, in fact, back, it would seem, to Blackburn High's Tim Lang. So across goes Nick Blackman of the Pembroke School. He's through to the semi-finals, as is Oliver Miller on lane 6, 1st and 2nd. The Pembroke School and Sandringham College. Blackburn High, Tim Lang finishes in 3rd place. 4th is quite a race. A couple of scullers on the far side going for home pretty quickly here in the closing strokes. Townsville Grammar's Lachlan Donnell Wales will finish in 4th. Jared Connolly of St Virgil's in 5th place. And the Friends sculler, James Wilson, will be 6th.
Our final sculler is approaching the line. The results of the fourth repechage of the schoolboy single scull was a win for Nick Blackman of Pembroke School, coached by Simon Lane. Second was Ollie Miller of Sandringham College, coached by Ben Board. They progressed through to the semi-final. In third position, Tim Lang of Blackburn High School, also coached by Ben Board. In fourth, Lachlan Donald Wales of Townsville Grammar, coached by Harrison Park. In fifth, Jared Connolly of St Virgil's. Those three progressed through to semi-final 3-4. And in sixth, James Wilson of Friends, who progresses to the to the E-final, is that right? E-final. So the winning time was 7 minutes 36, the margin 5.16. And repechage number 5 is underway. Again, the first two to progress through to the semi-final. We've got Oliver Jinku of Townsville Grammar in lane 2, also coached by Harrison Parks. We have Jared Lord of Canterbury in lane 3, coached by Emmanuel Hatziano. In lane 4, the Cathedral School Townsville sculler Bradley Graham. In lane 5, Namkai Stilianu from Sydney Secondary College, also at Sydney Rowing Club, so coached by Brendan Longman. In lane 6, Harry Jansen of Newington, coached by Elliot Shackcloth Bertinetti. And in lane 7, the Hunter Valley Grammar School sculler Arthur Bowman has scratched.
Thank you, Lizzie. So a field of 5 in this fifth and final repechage of the schoolboys single scull. Again, 2 to go through to the A and B semi-finals. The remaining 3 scullers will race in the minor semi-finals. Harry Jansen, our race leader for Newington College here in Sydney, racing in lane 6, closest to the camera side of the course. And beside him in lane 5, Namkai Stilianu of Sydney Secondary College. In fact, across the course, they are in lane order at the moment, it seems, from lane 6 across. Not quite, in fact, because the Canterbury College sculler, Jared Lord, leads Cathedral Townsville's Bradley Graham. So lane 3 ahead of lane 4, and then Townsville Grammar's Oliver Jinku is back in 5th place. So 3 scullers from Queensland on the far side of the course, and 2 from Sydney on this side, and they'd be the 2 in the qualifying spots at this stage. Harry Jansen of Newington and Namkai Stilianu of Sydney Secondary College. Doing the best of the chasing Queenslanders would be Jared Lord from Canterbury. That's Canterbury College on the Gold Coast, coached by Emmanuel Hatziano. He's been around Queensland rowing for a long time, particularly at the Brisbane State High School, and now at the Canterbury College on the Gold Coast. And his sculler, Jared Lord, he's not out of contention in 3rd place, but certainly has the task in front of him over the final 400 metres of this race. Harry Jansen leads it for Newington, 5:42.13 his time, 2.5 seconds back to Namkai Stilianu, and 2.5 seconds further back to Jared Lord, then Bradley Graham and Oliver Jinku. You would think too far back from here. So a good battle between these 2 Sydney-based scullers on the grandstand side of the course. Harry Jansen still maintaining the ascendancy. I think that Namkai Stilianu might be coming home the quicker of these 2. And again, you would think from here it's just a case of conserving as much energy as you can too, because the only real danger is Jared Lord of Canterbury College, and these 2 look to have him covered. But Jared Lord certainly chasing down towards the line, as well he might, because he needs to get into that top 2 to move through to the semi-finals with a chance of progression to the A-final. So he's at least kept the Sydney siders racing hard in the closing strokes here. The Newington sculler Harry Jansen was the stroke of the first 8 at the Newington school, who raced at the head of the river in, I think, 5th place they finished. But he goes across and wins this race, the repechage, the 5th repechage of the schoolboys single scull. Harry Jansen 1st, Namkai Stilianu 2nd, Jared Lord 3rd, and then back to the Cathedral sculler Bradley Graham in 4th place. And 5th is Townsville Grammar's Oliver Jinku in the 5th and final repechage of the schoolboys single scull, and one of the faster of these 5 repechages as well.
Indeed, it was a time of 7 minutes 37.71 provisionally for Harry Jansen, who was placed first in the 5th repechage of the schoolboy single scull. He represents Newington College. In second, Namkai Stiliano of Sydney Secondary College, the margin 1.10. They progressed through to the semi-final. In third position, Jared Lord of Canterbury. In fourth, Bradley Graham of Cathedral School. In fifth, Oliver Jinku of Townsville Grammar. They will progress through to semi-final 3 to 4.
Second fastest,
We now have a repechage in the schoolgirls Coxed 4, where the first 4 will progress through to the semi-final for the AB finals, and anybody left over will progress through to the C final. We've got a mixture of schools here. In lane 1, Canberra Girls Grammar School. In lane 2, Shelford Girls Grammar. In lane 3, St Catherine's School, the one from New South Wales. In lane 4, Lauriston Girls. In lane 5, Roseville College. In lane 6, Kinross Walleroy School. In lane 7, Loreto Kirribilli School. And in lane 8, Pymble Ladies College. That's the one from Sydney.
Thank you, Lizzie. Yes, it's always interesting time of this regatta, trying to keep track of the various schools and where they're from, especially when they've got similar names like all the Pymbles and the PLCs and the 2 St Catharines and the several Lorettos that we've got coming up as well. It keeps us on our toes late in the day. But this is the one and only repechage of the schoolgirls Cox 4, 1 to 4 through to the semis. The remainder, as Lizzie said, will race in the C final. Loreto Kirribilli, the school from here in Sydney, race leaders in lane 7, then right across to Canberra Girls Grammar School, lane 1, who would be in second place, just half a second behind at the 1,000 metre mark. Roseville third, also a Sydney school. And Pymble Ladies there as well are our top 4. Lauriston from Melbourne, but those very tight between really all the lower place crews. Pymble Ladies, Lauriston, St Catharines, Kinross, Walleroy and even Shelford. Only about 3 or 4 seconds from 3rd down to 8th at the 1,000 metre mark. We'll see shortly what they like at the 1,500 metre mark. But Loreto Kirribilli's crew are in front. Josephine McDougall, Emma Carey, Charlotte Tiffin, Emma Winneray and Kate Carlson, coached by Michael Benerius and Lachlan Allen. And then right across to the far side of the course, the challenge coming from Canberra Girls Grammar School and also Roseville in lane 5.
Have you had a look at the coaches? There's a bit of a lineup there. We have Alexandra Hagan, who used to be in the Women's 8, coaching Lauriston Girls. We've got Gonzalo Briones, a Spanish national coach, possibly even athlete, coaching Roseville. Sarah Cook and Tobias Wakandler, Australian Kiwi respectively. Sarah Cook, of course, the first Australian woman to be appointed a steward at Henley Royal Regatta and a wonderful commentator herself at Kinross Walleroy. And Michael Benerius, who represented Australia in under-23s, coaching Loreto Kirribilli. And Kendall Brodie, coxswain of the men's 8 for Australia last year and just been appointed cox again this year.
Yep, well spotted, Lizzie. I think it's fair to call it a star-studded peloton following this race down the course as well, with all those coaches on their bikes over there. And watching a very close battle between Loreto Kirribilli on this side, Canberra Girls Grammar on the far side. We're still second at 1,500 metres, just ahead of Roseville, St Catharines, and then a bit of a gap, about 2.5 seconds between the top and bottom 4. But that's closed up a bit as they approach the finish line now. Still, Loreto Kirribilli leads the race on this side. Roseville coming through strongly in lane 5 as well. Canberra Girls Grammar, that distinctive boat with the green colours over on the far side of the course. Then St Catharines, Sydney, alongside Lauriston Girls, I reckon chasing a top 4 spot here as well. The crew from Lauriston, coached by Alexandra Hagan, and they are charging home in lane 4 and every chance now of moving through to the semi-finals. Still Loreto Kirribilli on this side. Then Roseville with them. Canberra Girls Grammar School on the far side of the course. Lauriston have certainly gone past Kinross Walleroy now and up into 4th spot and are still pushing for a top 3 finish, I would think. Loretto Kirribilli are in danger of being swamped there in the closing stroke, but they'll all go through. Canberra Girls Grammar the far side, or maybe lane 5, very close there for 1st and 2nd and for 3rd and 4th. Loretto Kirribilli just got through there, I think, with Lauriston. Kinross Walleroy will miss out, as will St Catherine's in lane 3. Then on this side, Pymble Ladies, and the last crew home is Shelford Girls Grammar School on the far side of the course. It's a photo all round, certainly at least for the top 2 spots. It looked like Loretto Kirribilli and Lauriston Girls took out 3rd and 4th. They'll go through, as will Canberra Girls Grammar School, once we have a look at that photo. But a really close finish there, Lizzie, and we await judgment on 1st and 2nd at least.
Absolutely. What a fantastic race. Really was. So waiting to hear whether it was Roseville or Canberra Girls Grammar School that took out the first repechage, but certainly 3rd was Loretto Kirribilli and 4th was Lauriston Girls. So they will progress through to the semi-final, those 4 clubs. Then Kinross Walleroy placing 5th. Pymble Ladies College 6th, St Catherine's School 7th and Shelford Girls Grammar 8th will contest the C final.
Yes, Canberra Girls Grammar and Roseville both definitely to go through, but it was desperately close on that last stroke, and they were a few lanes apart as well. But Roseville, it looks like.
It was Roseville. Roseville first. They'll get a better lane. Canberra Girls Grammar School judged to be 0.06 behind Roseville. Roseville did 7:42.10. And then Loretto Kirribilli were 0.88 behind, and Lauriston Girls another 0.31. So
about 1 1/4 seconds from across the top 4 there. They'll all move through to the semis, and that should be a cracking race.
It should be indeed. Okay, let's move on to the schoolboys 4. We have a repechage in this event too, and again the first 4 will progress through to the semi-final. In lane 1 we have Ballarat High. The crew from Wesley has scratched. In lane 3 Scotch College, Victoria. In lane 4 St Patrick's College, Victoria. In lane 5 St Peter's College, which I believe is South Australia. In lane 6 Damascus. In lane 7 Rockhampton Grammar, and in lane Melbourne Grammar.
Yeah, St Peter's College from Adelaide. There's no coach listed, but I believe James McRae, who we saw in action on the water earlier today, is coaching at St Peter's College. Barnaby Eaton, who formerly worked for Rowing Australia, has also recently been appointed as Director of Sport at St Peter's College as well. They were the dominant winners of the South Australian Head of the River at West Lakes on the weekend. But not so much in this race. St Patrick's from Ballarat. We talked yesterday during the fours racing about the strength of the Ballarat schools in this class of boat, and we're seeing it again here in this repechage at the schoolboys. Cox 4, St Patrick's first, and Damascus College, also of Ballarat. Those two sitting 1st and 2nd, but it's a pretty comfortable lead to St Patrick's College at this stage, with Damascus and a couple of lanes away to them towards this side. St Peter's Adelaide in between them would be there in 3rd place, and great interest in 4th. The red colours of Scotch College Melbourne across towards the far side, and also Melbourne Grammar on this side ahead of Rockhampton Grammar also in red, and Ballarat High over on the far side of the course. So you'd think St Patrick's will go through here. Braden Sands, Connor Shug, Will Puka, Thomas Barry and Jackson Long. They're coached by Brendan Scott. And then close with the next 2, Damascus College from Ballarat, St Peter's Adelaide and Scotch College Melbourne. Probably should be the 4 qualifiers. Although down this side, Melbourne Grammar are having a good go in the closing strokes as well, as are Rockhampton Grammar School. But a fair bit of ground to make up for those couple of crews. But doing it easy is St Patrick's Ballarat on lane 4. They've turned it off in the closing strokes and they'll still win by a couple of lengths. St Patrick's across in 1st place, 2 lengths away to lane 6. Damascus College will get 2nd. St Peter's will get 3rd. 4th will be desperately close, but lane 3, Scotch College just holds on. 5th place just missing out is Melbourne Grammar. 6th will be lane 7, the crew from Rockhampton Grammar. And 7th on the far side, the crew from Ballarat High.
So just confirming that, it was a win in the schoolboy coxed for repechage for St Patrick's College of Victoria. Second were Damascus, third St Peter's College and fourth Scotch College Victoria. Those 4 crews progressed through to the semi-final. Melbourne Grammar were 5th, 6th Rockhampton Grammar, 7th Ballarat High, and those crews progressed through to the C-final. Winning time was 6 minutes 55.13 seconds, the margins 5.98 and 1.42. We were to have a second repechage, but that's been cancelled and consolidated into the race that we've just seen. So a very short break now before we get going with the under-17 schoolgirls 8s. How many heats will there be? Oh, just two heats.
Two heats of the under-17 schoolgirls Cox Day, yes. And the first one timed to start at 4:15. So around about a minute away. And there they are, Lizzie, a field of 4 at the moment. Then there's the 5th crew just backing into position now, the Pinball Ladies crew on lane 4.
So confirming the lineup will be in Heat 1 of the Under-17 Schoolgirls Cox Date, PLC Perth in lane 3, Pymble Ladies College in lane 4, Queenwood in lane 5, Radford College in lane 6 and Loreto Toorak in lane 7.
So this is the under-17 Coxed 8. Generally younger athletes than row in the Open School 8 event. We saw the heats of the schoolboys and the schoolgirls 8 yesterday. The bright blue colours prominent front of camera there. Loreto Toorak from Melbourne. The only Victorian crew in this race. Radford College from the Australian Capital Territory beside them. 2 Sydney crews then next, Queenwood and Pymble Ladies College, and PLC Perth in lane 3, round out the field. We are but seconds away from race start time, and the crew's just making the final adjustments there. You can see the fine manoeuvring required by the aligner to ensure that they're happy with the 5 bows being exactly lined up. And I think we are close now to a start. 2 heats to come in the under-17 schoolgirls Cox Date. Just the top 2 in each will move through to the A final, and the remainder in a repechage tomorrow. And you can see them on their way there. There's a few better sights in rowing than the series of 8s heading off to begin a 2,000 metre race. Blades are flashing in unison, the boats winding up speed quickly and aiming to get into their work and up to race pace as soon as they possibly can. And all 5 crews away now there. Loreto Toorak on the right of screen, Radford College beside them, across to Queenwood, Pymble Ladies, and also PLC Perth, the 5 crews in this first heat. 4 crews to follow in the second heat. You can actually see those crews at the bottom of the screen. They're about to move into the start pontoon to get ready for their race as well. Loreto Toorak, the defending champions in the under-17 schoolgirls Cox 8. They won the race last year. A different crew, of course, this year around, but looking to keep that race title in Victoria. And off to a pretty brisk 38.5 strokes a minute is the blue boat there of Loreto Toorak. Queenwood in the centre of the course look to have gained a slight margin over Pymble Ladies College beside them in lane 4, the 2 Sydney schools. And PLC Perth also doing a good job out there on the far side of the course. About 35 the rating there for Queenwood. And I reckon it'll be them or Loreto Toorak or maybe PLC Perth. Take your pick as they head towards the 1,500 metre mark. Very close it'll be, but PLC Perth on the far side just edges out Loreto Toorak and Queenwood. Queenwood, in fact, just got their bow across the timing marker first, it seems. Loreto Toorak 3rd, Pymble Ladies 4th, and Radford College 5th place. But what's that, Lizzie? About 2.5 seconds separates the field after 1,500 metres.
What would Ray say? You can throw a handkerchief over them all.
A pashmina, I think, was the item of choice last year anyway.
Very close, yeah. Certainly those Queenwood girls, having a look at them, the 4 of those names we recognise. They're all in the A final of the Coxed Quads as well as this 8. So certainly racing hard, those girls from Queenwood, as I'm sure the girls from Radford, knowing them. So
Queenwood and Pymble Ladies, again, not the same crews, but they were first and second in the Sydney Head of the River in a very close race on Saturday. So plenty of rivalry between those 2 schools. And Loretto Toorak on right of screen. Just dropping back a little would be Radford College in lane 6. And yes, Pymble Ladies lane 4. So probably half a length or so off the pace as they head towards the halfway mark now. I can tell you a bit about the Loretto Toorak crew, having had a brief involvement in the program, but they actually spend most of their time, these girls, racing in smaller boats, in quads and 4s. So had limited training in the 8 until recent weeks, really. Most of their racing has been in Cox 4s and quad sculls. So, but putting it together now in an 8 as well, and competing fairly tidily with the Queenwood School, and they would definitely be our top 2 now as we come up to the 1,000 metre mark. Queenwood first, Loretto Toorak second, tight for third, PLC Perth just edging out Pymble Ladies, and also Radford College from the ACT. So 3:27.45 the time for Queenwood through 1,000 metres, 2.37 seconds back to Loretto in second place, and 1.5 seconds then to PLC Perth on the far side. Still looking for our top 2 only to move directly through to the final. There is a second chance, of course, for the remaining 3 crews in the repechage. So it doesn't end here for any of these crews, but obviously they'll be looking to avoid the extra race tomorrow and move straight through to Sunday's final of the Under-17 Schoolgirls Coxed 8. And the Queenwood crew is Chloe Jallett, Madeline Newman, Sophie Nell, Stephanie Preller, Tiffany Botha, Ava McLean, Chelsea Prout, Beth McClellan, and Miranda Osborne, coached by Ray Boyle and Max Stanistreet. So Queenwood, it is still leading this race. Loretto Toorak on this side in second place. A good race between those 2 crews on the far side as well, from PLC Perth and Pymble Ladies as well. But the Loretto crew and that blue boat still looking to hold down second at this stage of the race. That's Bridget McFarlane, Celeste Crivelli, Libby Sutton, Millie McGrath, Sophie McCaw, Phoebe Lovell, Maddie Hill, Isabella Blackney, coxed by Claire McDaniel and coached by Charlie Dixon, the crew from Loretto, who are almost exactly a length now behind our race leaders from Queenwood, the school from Sydney. So Queenwood first, Loretto Toorak second, out to 3.14 seconds now from first to second. But Queenwood and Loretto hold down the 2 qualifying spots. PLC Perth in third place, about another 2.5 seconds back. Similar margin to Pymble Ladies in lane 4. And Radford College another 1.5 seconds further back in 5th position. But just the top 2 to go through, and it still looks like Queenwood and Loretto Toorak lanes 5 and 7 hold down those 2 spots. We'll see if the attacks start to come in the closing strokes from PLC, Pymble Ladies, and also Radford College. So Queenwood and Loretto Toorak heading for home here in the first heat of the Under-17 Schoolgirls Coxed 8. And possibly narrowing the margin to the Loretto crew here in the closing strokes of this race to make absolutely sure of their qualification through to the final. PLC Perth on the far side would be third. I think Radford College might have moved up into fourth now, going past Pymble Ladies in the centre of the field, but it's Queenwood still in front. PLC Perth trying to make up some ground on the top 2, but looks like they're going to run out of water here. It's still Queenwood leading Loretto Toorak by the best part of a length as they come into the final 50 metres of this race. The top two to progress through to the A final of the under-17 Schoolgirls Cox Date, and it'll be Queenwood from Loretto Toorak, the top two. Queenwood get the win. They go across by about 2/3 of a length from Loretto Toorak in second place. Another length back to PLC Perth in third place. Fourth will be lane 6, the crew from Radford College. And fifth then is Pimble Ladies.
Oh, excellent music. So, our first heat of the under-17 Schoolgirls Cox Date, a win for Queenwood. Second, Loretto Track. Third, PLC Perth. And fourth, Radford College. Fifth, Pimble Ladies College. The first two progress through to the A final, so that's Queenwood and Loretto Toorak. The remainder are going to the repechage, where they have a second chance to contest and get into the A final. The winning time, 7 minutes, 2.60 seconds. The margin, 2.19. Our second heat is in progress. It is indeed. And in lane 3, we have Wesley College. In lane 4, MLCQ. In lane 5, Loretto Kirribilli. And in lane 6, Geelong Grammar. Now, throughout the racing, I have been watching two brothers, Nick and Rowan Lavery. Nick, who rows for UTS, and Rowan, who rows for Melbourne University Boat Club. They're doing an absolutely fantastic job. One of them is very firmly under 23. The other one is a fair bit younger. I think he's under 21. Though, really have caught the eye of the selectors and those of us involved in talent. Nick is actually an N-Swiss athlete, so I know him well, and he's been very impressive all season. In the Wesley College crew, we have little sister Zara Lavery, and Zara is not only in the under-17 Schoolgirls 8, but I believe she's in the under-19 as well, with the name next to her, Christina Kamenev. So here they are in lane 1, Wesley College, having a little bit of a battle right now. They're sitting in third position at the moment, but a young crew and obviously a lot of talent there, and going to bash their way back in if they can.
And you've also answered my next question, Lizzie, which was going to be which Wesley College is which. This is obviously therefore Wesley College from Melbourne.
Indeed.
With the Laverys, with a Lavery
Good
in the
point.
crew. So Wesley Melbourne there in a good battle for second and third. MLC from Q also in Melbourne, our race leaders, and it's a pretty big lead over a very tight battle between Loretto Kirribilli and Wesley College, and then back to Geelong Grammar in fourth.
He might not give you the
So our leading crew remains MLCQ. That's the crew of Anthea Grutzner, Alexandra Oliver, Nicola Rouse, Iris Jeffrey, Ali Wilson, Steph Gordon, Nina Ferris, Rachel Rockman, and their cox Sally Danks. They're coached by Sarah Henderson and Kate McNamara. And the Sydney crew, Loretto Kirribilli, not content to let them get too far away. At the 1,000-metre mark, however, they were 4.46 seconds down, and only the first two go through to the A final. They're being challenged by the Wesley College Victoria crew that we mentioned. At 1,000 metres, Wesley College was 0.07 of a second down on Loretto Kirribilli, and look like they're really challenging now for a place. So that's the Wesley crew of Jessica Pattishman, Grace McDonough, Ella Dawson, Lara Joyce, Layla Keneally, Emily Hill, Zara Lavery, Christina Kamenev, and their cox Sarah Pisacane, coached by Georgia Bauman. Love to know how you pronounce that cox's name,
Yes,
by the way, because
I'll go with your pronunciation there, Lizzie, but you're exactly right. They have made a big move, Wesley College, in the third 500 metres, and they are now very comfortably in second place. The Georgia Bowman coach crew, part of course of the program we talked about with Ray earlier, coached under the guidance at least of Hannah Every Hall at Wesley College in Melbourne, and doing a great job here. Going out after our race leaders now too from MLCQ. So it looks like it'll be the two Victorian crews, well, two of the three Victorian crews in this race going through. Loretto Kirribilli third and Geelong Grammar back in fourth place. So on down towards the finish line now. Come MLCQ. Still clear by a length from Wesley College. They're the two crews up on screen. MLCQ from Wesley College, both to move through to the A final of the under-17 Schoolgirls Coxed 8, where they will join Queenwood and Loretto Toorak, the top two from the previous race. The remaining 5 crews will race a repechage, and 4 of those 5 will end up in the A final in any case. But going the quick way around is the crew from MLCQ. It's a dominant performance here. They'll win it by a length and a half. MLCQ first, Wesley College in second place. Couple of lengths further back to Loretto Kirribilli, who are in the top 2 for the first half of the race, but will now have to go via the repechage if they're to stay alive in this event. And 4th place then the crew from Geelong Grammar, soon to complete the course.
The winning time for MLCQ, 7 minutes 1.08 seconds. The crew that came second and progresses to the A final with them, Wesley College, the margin 5.81. Going through to the repechage, Loretto Kirribilli, the margin there was 6.7, and Geelong Grammar.
7:01.15 the time, about 1.5 seconds faster than the previous heat.
Now we're going to switch across to schoolboy Coxed 8s, and we have 2 heats here as well. And again, the first 2 will progress through to the A final, and the remainder will go through to a repechage. In the first heat, Scotch College Victoria in the second. That's lane 3. In lane 4, Newington. In lane 5, Melbourne Grammar. In lane 6, Shaw from Sydney, and in lane 7, Scots College.
And Shaw and Scots, the 2 closest to the camera side of the course, are our leading crews here. Shaw lane 6, Scots lane 7. And then in order across the course, Melbourne Grammar in 5, Newington in 4, and Scotch College from Melbourne in lane 3. But the 2 Sydney schools, or 2 of the 3 Sydney schools in the race, in the 2 qualifying spots at this stage, Shaw the leaders by 1 1/3 of a second at the 1,000-metre mark, and they certainly do have a clear margin on Scots, but not a massively significant one at this stage of the race.
Noticing the Melbourne Grammar School crew, they're sitting in 3rd at the moment. We have John Linkey, previous international oarsman, and certainly stroke sometimes of the Victorian 8 and the Australian boat race, Melbourne University Boat Club crew. Great to see him carrying on in the sport by coaching these fine young men, these under-17 schoolboy 8s.
It is great to see just the number of former, never a former rower, but the former Australian rowers who continue in the sport, and certainly working at school level to produce the hopefully the next generation of Australian representatives as well. It is what keeps the cycle endlessly continuing. The Shaw School there still maintain that lead, and have stretched it out now to 2.15 seconds over Scots in second place. So still the 2 crews on this side. You'll get a good look at them in the grandstand as they come past over the next minute or so. And then Newington in lane 4 have gone past the 2 Melbourne schools on either side of them. Scotch College on the far side would be in 4th place. Melbourne Grammar School in the centre of the course would be back in 5th place. But first and second only to move through to the A final. There'll be a second heat to follow with the same qualification pattern, but it continues to be Shaw and Scots, our leading 2 crews. Shaw is Henry Collins, Joseph Walker, Hamish Hunter, Max Deutsch, Nicholas Donoghue, Ben Brunker, Charlie Boyd, Thomas Livingston, and Oliver Wilson, coached by Peter Costa, and Jessica Wickenden. And Scots, Luca Matani, Harry Murfitt, Tyree Manson, Oliver Black, James Frederickson, Angus Campbell, Thomas Scott, David Campbell, coxed by Hugo Hart, and coached by Mark Campbell. And it continues to be Shaw by almost a length from Scots. Newington holding on to 3rd. Scotch College Melbourne on the far side, coming home quickly, but we'll have to be content with 4th place, it would seem. The win will go by a length to the Shaw School from Sydney. Shaw first, Scott second. Those 2 straight through to the A final. 3rd, just Newington holding on. Scotch were pushing them all the way to the line, but it's Newington 3rd, Scotch 4th, and Melbourne Grammar School in 5th place.
A good win for Shaw there over Scots College in the first heat of the under-17 schoolboys Cox State. In third position, Newington. In fourth, Scotch College, Victoria. And in fifth, Melbourne Grammar School. So Shaw and Scots progress through to the A final, the remainder to the repechage. The winning time, 6 minutes 17.73 seconds. The margin, 2.78. The second heat has now started in the under-17 schoolboys 8. We've got Geelong Grammar in lane 3, Wesley College in lane 4, St Augustine's College from New South Wales in lane 5, and Wesley College in lane 6. Any clues?
I'm assuming that one will be Wesley Melbourne and one will be Wesley Perth. We'll just try and see if we can sort out which of those crews are which. Geelong Grammar, definitely, obviously from Geelong. And St Augustine's a school here in Sydney, and they would be our race leaders. St Augustine's across in lane 5, just through 500 metres now, and they had almost 2 seconds already on Wesley College lane 4, and Geelong Grammar in 3, and Wesley lane 6 in 4th place. So St Augustine's still there, leading the race, 3:05.07 their time after 1,000 metres. Wesley College, lane 4, that's Wesley College from Melbourne in second place ahead of Geelong Grammar and Wesley. Certainly the two crews in the centre lanes here comfortably clear. St Augustine's, Brandon Smith, Oliver Thomas, Fred Warburton, Oliver St Pierre, Ben DeStarzo, Bo Nicholas, Finn Lawton, Tom Gerrans, Ben Edwards, the Cox, Judith Ungermach and Matthias Ungermach, the coaches of that St Augustine's crew. And alongside them, Wesley College crew of Wesley Hudson, Nicholas Spencer, Josh Alexander, down to Max Berkovich, Mitch Williams, Ali Harmon, Joe Bryant, Nasser Mashney, and Eden Cosson in the Wesley College combination. And those two have moved out by a significant margin on the remaining two crews in the race. Geelong Grammar in lane 3 on the far side, and Wesley on lane 6, which would be the Wesley Perth combination, we understand. But St Augustine Sydney and Wesley College Melbourne comfortably clear, and about 5 seconds between those two crews as well.
Doing well, this the St Augustine's College. They boat out of Mossman Rowing Club over on the north shore of Sydney, and both the rowing club and the school are headed up by Matthias Ungermach and Judith Ungermach. Matthias, who's the head coach of the club, and Judith, who's head coach of the college, and doing a great job. Earlier today we saw their under-19 and under-21 boys do very well indeed in Coxton Coxless Falls. It's a rebuilding of the programme since a change of leadership and coaching team at the club, and with St Augustine's College there doing such a fine job, it's really great. It does draw schoolboys and schoolgirls into the club programme as well.
Yeah, it's certainly been a pretty successful rebuilding if this heat is anything to go by, because St Augustine's comfortably in front now in the closing stages of the second heat of the under-17 schoolboys at Coxed 8. They will win it probably by about 2 lengths, it would seem, from the Wesley College crew, who will finish in second place. Those two will both move through to the A final directly from the second of 2 heats in the under-17 schoolboys Coxed 8. St Augustine's first and Wesley College in second place. They are the 2 qualifiers, and then to the repechage will go Geelong Grammar in lane number 3, and Wesley in lane 6 in 4th position.
Quite a commanding win from St Augustine's, not surprising given that both of those coaches were very experienced Olympians in the women's 8 and men's 8 for Germany. St Augustine's College winning by 7.97 seconds over Wesley College and Victoria, and Wesley a further 22.31 seconds over Geelong Grammar, and then another 10.77 seconds back to Wesley Perth. So that's the first 2 to progress through to the A final, St Augustine's of New South Wales and Wesley College of Victoria.